Thanks for joining Timeless Business and Building Strategies today. This is Tony Johnson here. I've got Adam Ferrara with me. Adam, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Tony. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And Adam is a partner and owner of Ferrara and Buist Contractors. If I probably mangled that name, and so Adam, you could probably restate your company's name, and then
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
let's give it a shot. Ferrara Buist Contractors. Um,
And
that's
they
a it's definitely a mouthful, but eventually it just kind of sinks
Yeah, it's cool. It sounds like a sports car
in.
kind of setup. So
I
that's
was one
cool.
letter away from being very, very wealthy.
That's right. You were close. You were right on the cusp. Yeah. So you guys are in Charleston and Fort Mill, South Carolina. You're a commercial general contractor and you also have a development arm. So Adam, thanks so much for joining us today. Could you give us a little background of how you got into the business? How long you been in the business?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a graduate of the College of Charleston in 2000. And a very good friend of mine who went to the Citadel turned me on to a job with John Whelan Homes. They're a very successful home builder out of Atlanta, and that was my first rodeo here in Charleston. And then right after September 11th, 2001, a lot of people remember that day. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, to transfer with John Whelan Homes. They had a successful division up there, and went went to uh, a neighborhood south of Charlotte, and was very successful there, and built my first home there as well. My first personal residence at the age of 25, and then was I guess I was noticed by one of John Whelan's competitors, Toll Brothers, out of Horsham, Pennsylvania, and I was took a quick promotion to a project manager with Toll Brothers at a neighborhood that was just down the street there in Charlotte, and continued on with them for about 2.5 years until the end of 2007, where, as we all know, there was a tremendous amount of market turbulence. Some people crashed and burned, and through those ashes, new people tended to crop up. So that was where I was able to start my own company at that point in time. I just named it after my wife. Her name is Becky. It's called Beck Design Group, and we were just doing additions and renovations at that time, and it was very much so wildly successful because it was a bedroom community of Charlotte, which is a huge banking city, as most people know. We just were effectively following the money. I went to some local branches and just simply said, "Hey, where are you lending money?" And then we started targeting those types of projects. So fast forward a few years, and then I continued on with the home building side. Some new home building was cropping up, and as 2010-11 was moving along, and people were ready to get back to work. And I twisted my business partner's arm, David Buist, who was working for his family's commercial construction company in Florida, to move up to Fort Mill and give it a chance and grow his family and grow mine. And that's how we got started at Ferrara Buist. Thank goodness to our wives who grew up together in Anderson, South Carolina, who introduced us. So that was kind of how it all came together.
Fantastic. So you and David started your company what year?
It was the summer of 2009 is when we filed, and we were off to the races. We were literally sharing one desk in one key man office in Fort Mill, South Carolina. I had one laptop on one side, and he had one on the other. And just like every small business starts from humble beginnings, that was our kickoff.
I love it. So, you obviously, we don't know each other. Your story, aligns significantly with my story.
Okay.
So, it's very cool to hear. I don't hear a lot of people, starting. That's exactly, well, I started my company in 2007, but, you started your first company then. And so, amazing things happen in that crash, the massive crash, and people did come out of the ashes and business started up. So when you guys started in 2009, and you partnered up, so it sounds like the primarily what you were doing prior to getting David involved was all residential remodels and looking at some new home construction. Uh, with that, bringing him from the commercial side up, did you have any commercial experience before he joined you?
Other than doing a couple of small office upfits, I would say from a complexity standpoint, I had little to no commercial experience to speak of.
And so with him coming in, which one of you is the visionary and which one's more the operator type of person?
Yep, I'm the visionary. I am and I'll touch on this later, but as I learned in strategic coach with Dan Sullivan, um, I'm the entrepreneur that happens to be a general contractor. I hold the licensure for the company, and I'm the connector of people. I am the kind of the hey guys, we can do it. I'm the cheerleader, the coach, and try to build the biggest table possible is my focus. And David is an engineer, a graduate of Clemson in civil engineering. He is a nuts and bolts guy. I can't promise you he doesn't have one brown sock on and one black sock on, but he knows how to read a set of drawings, and he's very, very good at helping people realize that their plans can be built. And I'm more of the cheerleader for those business owners to help them understand that hey, let us do the heavy lifting of the building so we can get you guys to work to do what you're good at.
I love that. Yeah, well, that's fantastic. So you guys, did both of you do strategic coach or just you?
I did strategic coach.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. So, a lot of what we like to talk about here is the business, right? And understanding how people that are getting in the business can be successful. And so obviously, groups like Strategic Coach, GoBundance. There's tons of other ones that you can get involved with. It's a peer group, and that's a coaching group. And Strategic Coach is the longest running one with Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy's wrote a bunch of books. So that is great. So do you ascribe a lot to reading into Colby, print?
Yes.
Clifton Strengths? Do you
Yes.
analyze, do you guys work with that? So as you've built up your company, do you utilize those or any other for analyzing potential team members?
So what we are using Colby, I would say that it's been a little bit of starts and fits and spurts, because when we started in Fort Mill in 2009 and 10, I expanded our brand back down to Charleston, where I'm from, which is why we opened this branch to target some of the potential North Florida markets and the lower part of the South Carolina, what most people commonly refer to as the Low Country. And we opened this office in the summer of 17, and quickly penetrated the market, because it's certainly still somewhat of a good old boy system. And I'm a seventh generation Charlestonian and grew up here and had plenty of connections. So I quickly jumped into the market to take some market share. But then COVID comes, right? So
Mhm.
we're continuing to build through COVID. It is much slower. And we did not lay anybody off in COVID. We kept going strong. But I would say that really created some quicksand moments, right? We were kind of stumbling through it and pushing and working through it. And it just almost felt like it postponed some of the inevitable, which was how to really grow this team the right way. So I went from our first team of people and recognized how this team needed to operate here, and and now we have an excellent team in place that have been in place for anywhere from we have some junior guys here that have been here 6 months to folks that have been here for 4 years at this point, post COVID. And so we haven't been able to really fully implement it across the board, but as we are hiring on new folks, we are doing that to evaluate our team. And the way that I can try to build that team in a way that allows me to continue to explore my entrepreneurial strengths and team building strengths, and to really put the right people in place to operate the day to day has been crucial. And that's something that I don't want to overlook today is the strength of our team.
So, being the visionary side, you're the future forward thinking piece in your team. So as you are looking forward and planning for your company's growth, are you looking to expand to other markets, grow market share? What is your vision and goal for your company?
Well, as we know, it's organic, right? It's not we're going to do this and then do this and do this. It sort of develops as the market continues to work through presidential cycles, as we work through the money cycle, as we know, it tends to be tougher one administration versus the other. So we've decided as a group, David Buist and I partnered with another gentleman who had experience in the middle market lending sector and was lending money all across the country with a large financing group to help with much larger developments in that, we'll call it the $20 million to $100 million scale range. And we were able to create a separate company called Vulcan Property Group, where our goal is to build 100 buildings over, originally it was 5 years, and then COVID kind of slowed it down a little bit. So we backed that up to 10 years. And we are on that path. We have successfully built over 35 buildings out of that 100 so far. And our goal is to long-term hold those and be the landlord for those buildings. And that's really been great for Ferrara Buist, because Ferrara Buist is a tool in that toolbox to build those buildings and avoid some of the pitfalls of change orders and being nervous about how to control cost, as most developers are nervous about that. So we really help comfort not only our developers that hire us to build for them at FB, but we are having our lenders be very comfortable with the fact that we are controlling costs on the development side as well. So that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you guys taking private investors? Are you allowing in private investors, or is everything just through your partnership group and private equity and lenders?
So it's interesting you asked that question. So the project size is going to drive that. So if we have a project that's in that $1 million to $3 million range, we're going to just handle that in-house. Let's say it's a 2-building development. It's what some people will call in the industry an unanchored retail. Or let's say it's a couple of a small little medical complex with 2 or 3 buildings that might be a total of, 15,000 square feet. We'll do that in-house. We might bring in some friends and family money, but that's more of an offer than an ask, which is nice because it doesn't put pressure on our family and friends. And then the other projects, we delivered about $50 million worth of new projects in 24 that were larger centers. I'm actually living in one right now as a tenant, which is nice. It's a 5-building establishment here on at Point Hope, the old Guggenheim property in Clements Ferry Road. And we have a medical office building. We have 3 other retail buildings where we have great tenants like Dunkin' Donuts, Firehouse Subs, Domino's, some dock offices, and somehow Ferrara Buist squeezed out an office for itself. So we're kind of the the redhead stepchild of this retail center, but this is a very important corridor to our market, which is why we're here.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So, having the ability to build your own, it substantiates a lot. So to speak to what you were saying, when you're able to be the builder and develop the property, not only does it make the bank feel a little more comfortable because they understand that you're able to control those costs and overruns a lot better, but it also saves from your perspective because there's a built-in. So it's actually a lot of times it's less money to have to bring up front. So the deal actually makes a lot more sense when you're underwriting it. And you guys are not only then being able to own, operate, and build up that portfolio, um, but you're also giving your company work, right? So you're
Yes,
keeping you're making sure you can verify for your employees, we have something, whether we land this competitive bid or not, we've got these backup plans, right?
that's right.
So you have definitely thought that through. That is fantastic. So I love how you guys have put all that together. And I like the idea of the you've set the standard of the 100 buildings, but you didn't. A lot of people would specify it as maybe a square foot under management they're gonna get, but
Yeah,
to just kind of throw out, yeah, this amount of buildings. That I like that idea. So, and you guys say that you are on path for that. That you've done 35 out of the 100. This is all great. Your additional partner that you've brought in, how did you guys when that came together, where does he fit in and how does he fit in on that mix? It's typically a little more difficult with three instead of two.
for sure, for sure. So the way we have each of us kind of have our own lane, our own sandbox. So I'm here in Charleston, and I am a member of Vulcan Property Group as well as Ferrara Buist. And David and Scott operate out of the Fort Mill office because that's where their residences are and kids are in school and whatnot. So we're all in our late 40s. So we all still have kids in school. So that we're all doing life together on the same timeline. That's part one. Part two is I don't want this to kind of go without saying. We're all godly men, right? We are Christians, and we feel like that. We want to operate our business as such. It's not about perfection, right? But it's about how to just know we can put our heads on our pillow at night, that we've done the right thing that day. It may not be the right thing for the business, but it's the right thing for the project and the client. And that's huge, because we will have to take a cut sometimes on ourselves because we just missed something, right? We have to make it right, whether it's on the development side, let's say it's signage, or whether it's on the construction side, and we missed a pipe somewhere, whatever it is, we make that problem go away. We don't just create some like instant moment of where we need to issue a change order. So that's part two. But really, part three is Scott and I met through our church in Fort Mill. His wife actually was an associate pastor and baptized my children, which is really cool. And like I mentioned before, our wives on the Ferrara Buist side, our wives grew up together and went to college together. So there's some really, trust is big, but we don't have to wonder and trust, right? We don't wonder like what the angle is, when sometimes partners have that, like what's their ulterior motives. We don't ever worry about that, because our wives will set us straight immediately, and we're and we're back in line. So those are all key things. But Scott's a money guy, right? So he's a Wake Forest guy, degree in real estate finance. He worked for the FDIC, worked for Merrill, and he worked for some middle market lenders, both stateside and abroad. So he really has a unique perspective on what makes a deal go, right? What gets banks excited, because he knows how to speak that lingo. So he brings that expertise. I bring still the dream, the vision, like, oh, we can do this. This would be great. Here's how we set it up. And David brings okay, here's how we're going to get the plans done. Like, so it's a really cool three-legged stool, I guess, if you want to call it that.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that is great. You sound like you have a great team, and it sounds like you guys all align, bringing great value and complementing one another. So let's talk a little bit about your business operations with the construction company, right? So when you guys are doing work, so you're doing 30% of your own, 70% you're doing for clients. So when you're doing that, do you guys predominantly do design build, design assist? What are you guys most successful at as a contractor?
So, we certainly love the jobs that are negotiated. Okay. The client says, hey, we're using you. There's nobody else. And we're going to manage the design process. We want to bring you in at small, at value engineering moments, to try to, for the layperson, opportunities to have the same activity take place. It's the same result, but maybe it saves money, right? So that's that approach. But where I learned about, and I can't take credit for it, but what I learned the term design assist build was an architect buddy of mine here in Charleston who we've done a lot of projects with. And I really like it, like stuck in my mind for probably a year before I was comfortable enough to kind of put it onto our website and coin it. And the design assist build is unique in that the client signs a letter of intent with us. They pay us a very, very small fee to help corral the civil engineer, the landscape architect, the MEP, structural, and architect. All of those design professionals are paid directly by the client, right? And so from a matter of safety, liability is big in our industry, right? So the client and the architect own those drawings. We don't own those drawings, right? We're going to build what's on the drawings, but we have a part in saying, hey, put this in that recipe, put that in that recipe. But the design assist portion is that we're part of the communication with the architect, just like design build. However, every lender wants an owner to at least get two prices for a project. And every negotiated GC says, oh my gosh, you're going to go put that on the street to get a price because you need a second price. It's going to confuse our subcontractors. They're going to now wonder if we have the project. So every story I told them about having that project is now maybe seems not so true. So now I have egg on my face. In this case, our client knows they can go get a price at any moment, because if they fall out of love with me during the design build process, and I've seen that happen on more than a dozen occasions, they're stuck with me because I own the drawings. They're real, and that's not fair to them because it's their business, it's their money, it's their land. Why would I make them beholden to me? So I feel like if I give them that freedom, right, it's that, you love it, let it go. And if it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. So that's my approach to it. And I really feel like that's the best way to do it. There's some risk, but I also think the reward is so much better because they're saying yes to you. They're not just feeling obligated.
Right. And now, do you run in every time when you're doing a design assist where the owner is getting a second price?
So I've had 3 owners get a second price.
Okay.
And inevitably, if they do, I don't ask them who gave them the price. I do ask them to send me a schedule of values that are maybe has some blinds on it, so that we can do a leveling of the bid. And I'll give you a great example. An ice cream shop we're building right now. They got a bid. The bid was about 30 grand less than ours. And I said, I'm scratching my head and I'm thinking, there's no way that this is possible. I literally live next door to the site. And there's no way this guy's that much less expensive than us, because we're cutting it pretty thin because we're right next door and we're neighbors. And lo and behold, there were about 10 items that added up to about $60,000 that were just not thought about on either his part, or maybe they were shown as, alternates or ads.
Owner supplied.
Owners,
something.
yeah, but Joe consumer doesn't know how to level set a bid, and we do. So it's cool because it keeps our pencil sharp and honest, but it also gives them the comfort that really paid us to do something of value to them. We've got to bring value to the project.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is fantastic. Yeah, and more times than not, when you're going and assisting on a design like that, you're making sure everything is covered. So the risk that you run into, just like what you're speaking of, is when they bring in that second party is leaving things off. And so that's where it comes in. Uh, a construction management company potentially, right? You don't like those, but it's the reality is you have to have it's the risk that an owner runs into to speak to you that they don't have the knowledge and expertise to understand is that when you're going through that iteration, that process, and you're doing a design assist, you're making sure everything is covered. Then you bring in someone from a competitive bid standpoint, and they just want to do the bare minimum on the drawings and might have a backside change order plan. So
Right.
they're doing a low number. And so, doing a disservice to your client. So it's sometimes difficult to be able to show them the bid leveling. It's sometimes where the owners, and where I run into this, and I'd love to get your insight, where the owner doesn't allow or doesn't state that they say everything just looks right. And you really have to have a strong relationship built for that owner to, allow you to do that.
Right.
How have you handled that to make sure you overcome that hurdle?
So because we've professionally speaking, we've been in bed with this owner for a year now, right? Through all the entitlements, through the permitting, and I haven't gone into that portion of it when we help them find land, and sometimes we help with finance acquisition. That's the advantage of being a developer. We can really give them the comfort. Not only do we know we can do it for you, but we can show you we've done it for us on dozens of occasions. So that's almost like it's not really a big deal, and it's not so overwhelming. And when you can bring them through your project in real life, that's part one. But part two is when they almost look at you like you're crazy when you say, "Hey, we would encourage you to get another bid." I want them to get another bid every time, because I want my estimating department and my pre-construction team to see, like, oh, I could get this done for that price if that in fact is an accurate price. But
Right.
the other portion is too, we have a really unique checklist for our development of our projects that is something only a developer that's very seasoned would know how to put together. We open up the coffers on all of our goodies that we use to do development with all of our clients that want to do development, especially the first time clients that are doctors that love to occupy 51% of their building because they want to rent out the balance of it, and the bank loves it because they're a doctor and they're under occupied. We can really help them navigate that process. And I've had clients where I've said, "Hey, let me see your business plan. Can you get financing for this?" And I ask that with all due respect. Let us help you with that. So we do a lot of business coaching without really advertising that we do business coaching. And I know we're doing it well, or well enough, because our trade partners are coming to me asking for help to develop their own spaces, which is really, really flattering. And the last part is, the simple questions like, "Hey, did that contractor look at the landlord work letter if it's a first generation space?" "Oh, I didn't send that to them." "Well, how do they know what the landlord's promising you versus what you need to put in, but versus what the other GC needs to put on his quote?" And that very thing happened to one of our other clients building a pizza shop in Summerville, South Carolina. The landlord missed about $20,000 worth of work. Another GC would have just put it in his price, right? Because they walked the space, it's not there. Well, I went to the owner and said, "Hey, this landlord owes you this work. It's not in your drawings. We need to reconcile that." And it was like a head scratching moment, like, "Oh my gosh, you just saved me $20,000. So I just love those like little wins. and that gets me super excited to do what we do.
That's amazing. You know, it speaks kind of volumes to who you are as a person. So that, you know, to go back to speaking of yourself earlier, you're godly men, you and your partners. So that is true, and it's refreshing to hear something like that. You know, being in this industry, coming upon 20 years. You know, I don't run into a lot of people that are in this industry that have and hold that honesty side. You're a lot of times fighting to try and be honest with clients because there's a lot of deception, unfortunately, in our industry. And fighting that when you're trying to be that honest contractor is a difficult balance beam you have to walk in order to be successful because you, with every new client, have to validate, you know, and justify that up forward and being honest and, you know, building that trust when you have a lot of times in a competitive environment, a lot of things that you have to overcome and explain to a client. So you really have to work hard to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think focusing on, you know, when we're, and I'll tell a client, hey, let's fast forward and you're done. You know, you're feeling excited, your doors are open, you're nervous, you know, you want you to be successful financially. The last thing you need to be thinking about is, oh my gosh, I've got a daycare opening up August 15th. We don't have our CO yet, or I forgot to coordinate with DHEC. You know, we understand that. We also own several daycares as developers too. So I guess there's a lot of, I don't want to use the word cheat codes because we've earned it, right? We took the knocks on the head, but the ability to get them to focus on how they're going to feel once the doors are open, letting us solve the problem, and delivering a great product, and then all the behind the scenes scuttle that takes place between contractors and architects. We really, really, really take that same approach with our owners to defend our design teams. Because if you take let's just say it's a hard bid situation, you're bidding against 10 other GCs, right? It's highly competitive, such as public work. And you've got, let's say it's you know, a school district or something that's building a $30 million school. You're going to have very, very low bids, and you're going to have massive change orders, right? It's that old, you know, the picture of a dinghy is the contract, and the picture of the yacht is the change order. But we make sure, because 90% of our work is either design, assist build, or negotiated, or it's for our own development company. We really make sure that our civil engineers and our architects really understand and appreciate that we are going to, we have a little bit of construction contingency and design contingency in our numbers, right? A couple of percent. But then the balance of it is, how are we communicating the issue? And are we bringing 3 solutions to that problem? Not just pointing a finger in a copy all email. Oh, your architect's window is 5 feet off on the exterior versus the interior, and it's, you know, in the way of a door that has to do with your life safety of getting in and out of this building, right? I mean, something that could create a massive cost change order. We don't. It's not that we're hiding it from the customer. It's just that, hey, let's assess what the risk is. How do we solve that risk, and what's the absolute best case scenario first? Then we call the architect or the civil, and we then say, hey, this is what we see. Here's how we think we can fix it. What's your opinion about the best way to approach this? And that also speaks volumes, because that's how we're going to get referrals from architects. They're not going to refer jobs to contractors that run them through the mud, unless they're just the cheapest contractor. And they always get work because the developer wants what they perceive as inexpensive, but eventually you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So if somebody's trying to hold on to a building, which to speak to you, if you're going to be occupying 51% of a building, a lot of times, you know, you would really need to pause if you want to go with that lowest bid, because you're going to be dealing with that building for years to come. So
Right.
the cost initial costs in the long term is going to be a big problem for you. All right. So just real quick, I know you've mentioned it again. So could you, for the listeners, just explain when you're saying design assist or negotiated, can you explain, now we've discussed your design assist, can you explain negotiated for the listener?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a great example. We are working with a corporate daycare brand out of the Midwest right now on a project in the Carolinas, and they've selected a site. They have a construction manager in-house, right? That's his job to do all of those pre-development exercises. You've got to have your soil studies, potentially a phase 1, 2 environmental, traffic studies, whatever that municipality or highest authority of jurisdiction requires. Beyond that, they can ask us, hey, we're not in market. Can you recommend a civil or an architect? And we will. We'll recommend 2 of each. Or they may not ask for that at all. They may say, hey, we've already got our architect because it's a brand, right? And they're just repeating that brand with our codes. And we've got our civil. We're going to have a design kickoff meeting. And what that design kickoff meeting includes us in the design from A, right, alpha to omega, A to Z. And we are advertising opportunities to keep dollars under control, whether it's, wall types, truss heights, wood truss, metal. Those are sometimes commonly referred to as a 2B building or a 5B building. And then we will give them guidance on, hey, I know this municipality likes X in their drawings or Y because we've experienced it. So we're just providing not like a tour. I would classify it as this. We're like a very experienced tour guide on the design assist build. We're more of a abbreviated tour guide on the negotiated, right? We're giving them the high points, but we've been brought along to that party. We're not running as a host.
Yes. So now when we're talking, so yeah, in other words, just to clarify it so when he's doing the design assist, he is, bringing the recommended architecture, pulling all those relationships and still steering and guiding the ship in the design assist. In the negotiated, he is present and there, but not really the captain of the ship. He's a side piece on the ship. He's there because they want his input along the way, kind of as a consultant, right? Type of feel. Right. That would be kind of how I would try and describe it. Now, when we talk before, right, when we're doing the design assist and you guys are doing those, right, you're getting an LOI, you're doing that. So how are you protecting yourself for negotiated work?
Sure. So when you say protecting ourselves with the design assist build, in theory, we're trusting that the owner is going to hire us because they've seen the goodwill, they've seen the time. There is a tiny kicker where the client, if we do charge them a small fee for that design assist build process, we actually do honor it and give them a price reduction. So let's say they give us a deposit of $15,000 to manage the entire design process and get permitting, which could take anywhere from 12 to 18 months here in the Low Country, a while, or add another 6 months for SBA financing. So I would say from a contractual standpoint, there is no guarantee, but what our contract does promise is they give us last look.
Yeah.
Right. So that's it.
So and the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because, and we're about the same thing, right? So, and the reality is, you're doing this as a service to help the client. You are not making money. If you broke this down to hours spent into these projects, you're making pennies on your time. Yeah. You're doing all of this work and putting in all the effort to help that client. under the assumption that you're getting the job because you're really not charged. You're just trying to put something. So you're trying to state, hey, you know, with because in time a lot of people that are newer to contracting would do all that for free and then get bypassed and lose it. So you're just trying to give a little bit of a nudge to say, just you know, at least pay me for what I'm doing. But, that is not really what it's there for. It's just kind of like, because realistically, you're almost this whole year and a half that you're putting in is almost for free. It's just kind of something to tie yourself to it, really.
Yes,
Right.
it's a lost leader for sure. But let me tell you what it does tell me. If a client is not willing to pay me $10,000 or $15,000 to basically quarterback the entire process for them so that they can manage and run their business, they're telling me that they don't believe in their business enough to invest in it. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to be shocked when they see the prices from commercial architects to design unique one-off projects. Those range in between $30,000 to $200,000. And the civil engineering is also very similar, in between $20,000 to $100,000, depending on the site size and complexity and the municipality. If they don't want to invest in themselves, and I'm relatively blunt with them in a very, very professional way. I say, hey, because some people have said, why am I paying you that? Well, I'm giving it back to you when we go to start your project, and I promise you I am. It is a line item in there, and we don't inflate the numbers to just offset it. It's honest truth. It's just the integrity that we work with. And I'll say, hey, it's important for these designers and your lender and your investors potentially, or your partners and your employees, to see that you're willing to invest in your business. And if now's not the right time, we want to be here for you when it is. But I've had clients that didn't want to do it, and their projects still haven't happened yet.
Well, yeah, that's typically it.
So, so it's a call sign for me that if they're not going to do it, then it's not probably a real project.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree wholeheartedly. And if someone's not, if someone, for anyone out there, if someone's not willing to invest in you, it's probably not the best client for you, because if they don't see value in you just from this standpoint, then how much value are they really putting on you during the project? That might be the type of client that's going to try and override you, try and go on, and that you're going to have issues with later within the construction process. So it could be a leading indicator that this isn't the right relationship, and beware.
That's right.
So just something to put out there. One last thing before we finish up, Adam, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. Could you tell me, with the evolution of technology right now in the industry, there's a lot happening. So I know just with my company, AI, we're trying to just keep up with it, right? There are so many things happening. How are you guys handling all the technology changes with AI and worrying about robotics and labor capacity? How are you guys trying to think of that moving forward?
So because we're not really in a production area environment, such as a merchant builder is building the same model in a neighborhood, 100 times over, but we are building unique one-off buildings. I would say on the labor side, with respect to the real construction, we haven't really implemented anything new in that respect. I would say we're implementing more oversight with our cameraing systems and how those are integrated within our software. Like Red Team is one of the softwares we use. We did move from Procore. It just was not the best fit for us. Red Team was designed by a GC, so we use them. And we are using on the what I would say the early on stages, right? The diligence period, the site studying. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many times I'm using my phone to pull up, LandGlide to pull up land information, using, Moser to measure, site topo, even though we don't have much down here, topography. We have a lot up in Charlotte. We're using AI, test fit to help forecast what a site could look like, because maybe the civil engineer doesn't have time to draw us a concept plan for a site. Whereas I remember when I first started on the residential side, I was hand drawing some of these small additions that we were doing because it was within the footprint of the home. Maybe we were adding a second story to a garage or something. So between our project management software, the way that we're communicating interpersonally within our teams, our short and long-term video cameraing systems. Blue Ox is another great one that does some, like you can see your project compressed into like 30 seconds from start to finish, which is really cool. And certainly we're staying with back to our normal stable efforts with, like, obviously we use drone technology to see what's going on with our sites in progress on a monthly basis. We work with a company that does that for us. So I would say that, we're investing a solid 1.5% to 2% of our total volume in that type of technology as a matter of our gross sales. Hopefully that answered your question.
That was a fantastic answer. So there was a lot of great tidbits in there on some of the new products that you mentioned. And, to go back to what also you mentioned, I was just on a call earlier today regarding Procore. So, that's a challenging software because it's an industry standard, I would say, software for project management. It's got a lot of complaints from a GC side. So when you say, yeah, Red Team was created by a GC, Procore is one of those companies that does not look out for the client. It's more of a gotcha, bait and switch company. Like
it's a pay for play platform. And as it has gotten bigger, it's gotten more expensive. You would think as it's gotten bigger and more subscribers that they could maybe have better offerings to the, your, I don't know what the term is, your original users, but it can't be, the barrier to entry cannot be so painful financially. And the simple fact that the deal killer for me with Procore, and we told them this about 38 times in a 3-year period, was we could not run our scheduling through Procore. You have to schedule outside of Procore and then dump into Procore. Well, quite frankly, we could just have our own Google Docs and do the same thing. Yep. And it's not, it was awesome for pictures. It was awesome for RFIs and whatnot and submittals, but it's just not that good for the lay superintendent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so what he's saying is one of the big disadvantages of Procore is they have basically a third party, or it's kind of a Procore drive that you take your Microsoft project scheduling software and you can't update. You have to go through a drive and go in and update. You can't just go within this very expensive software and adjust your schedule. You have to go into the secondary program outside, go through basically a port and almost, integrate it in. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life for a software that costs such an arm and a leg, like 3 times what every other one costs.
You've got your other ones that are great for residential use, but we found that the switch to Red Team, switching is always painful, right? But I will tell you that when you go back to remembering what it used to be like versus how you then operate, then you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. You don't want to keep going back to the same old thing. It's probably not PC to say the beaten wife syndrome. You just keep coming back to it, and you just feel terrible. You just feel like, oh, I'm just used to it, so I'll just keep coming back to it. Yep. You should not do that in any business. If you feel in your gut that something's not running the way it should, research, chat GPT it, whatever, you figure it out. Don't ever just stay status quo. Because every business really should be organic in most cases. Even the large franchises should still be able to think autonomously to function in some capacity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, just to reiterate what he was saying, Red Team is who they're using, which is a very good alternative platform. Autodesk is another one that is
Yep.
more expansive than Red Team and offers more alignment with Procore. They
Yep.
are a bigger company and they actually offer even more things than Procore. So, other alternatives to look at in the market. So, yeah, to that point, I'll leave it alone. But I would wish that software would kind of more engage, because you
Yeah.
don't hear a lot of positive
Yeah.
information in the marketplace.
Tony, I can promise you, David Buist, my partner, who will listen to this podcast at some point, is going to be so excited that you and I are fighting for the little guy.
That's
With
right.
with bro, he is yeah. It was just not good. So it's but we're really happy with the change, and I don't know how much more time we have left. I just want to be very cognizant and give a shout out to the total team, right? So my wife is our HR manager. She has a master's in accounting from Clemson, and she manages all of our HR personnel onboarding and whatnot. So she's part of this as a family. David's wife uh, manages our social media and controls the outward presence of what we're presenting to the public. And our team as a whole, we have a staff of 28 strong internally within our both offices, and we could not do what we do without our team. And that, a lot of business owners will say that, and I believe they mean it, but I can assure you, my limit of reading capacity is 40 pages, which is the length of our contracts. And because every entrepreneurial owner like me, that's the ideas guy, is ADD, and I'm sure you've picked up on it. But I have to have very, very detailed people, and God has blessed me with a beautiful wife, 3 great kids, and we have money people, we have non-risk takers, we have more non-risk takers, and then we have finance guys, and we just have this awesome team of construction professionals, from PMs to superintendents. We call them construction managers because we want them to really own their projects, and our office staff, Julie and Alana. So we just are very blessed to have the team we have, and could not do it without them. And I'm grateful that they allow me to have the flexibility to take a Wednesday. I take every Wednesday as what strategic coach call it, a free day.
Free day.
My free day is not
Focus,
yeah,
buffer, and free day.
yeah. That's my free day, to go out and explore new projects to help grow these businesses and see what else is out there.
Man. Hey, well, yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk about your team. Now, if someone wants to find you guys on social media, what social media platform are you the most active on, and what would be the handle we're looking for?
Yeah. So our Facebook, Ferrara Buist Contractors. Let's see. I have people that know all these things.
We'll find you on there.
Yeah,
Ferrara
Ferrara Buist
Contractors on Facebook.
on Facebook.
So Facebook is where you guys are the most active.
But we're active on Facebook 2 times a week minimum, and LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn, whether it's through our successes in our projects, philanthropic efforts with our various municipalities and counties. So both are Ferrara Buist Contractors on that.
Oh man, I love it. A lot of similarities in the ways we do business. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today, Adam. Thanks so much. Hopefully, maybe we can get you on another time later down the road. But it's been fantastic, and I appreciate your time. And we'll put all the links to your social media in the chat. And thanks again for joining us, sir.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Charlotte Berger and her team at CBPR, who helped arrange this. So thank you to them, and thank you to you and your platform. I've enjoyed listening to your podcast on some of the cost seg stuff and some of the other GC related things. And I've actually forwarded your podcast to all of my team through our company to listen to grow their knowledge base. So thank you so much for all you do.
Awesome. Thanks again. Appreciate it, Adam.
All right. Have a great day.
You too, sir.